Hello, everybody, and welcome back for Parsha. As I'm sure you recall, we are currently in the middle of reading the fourth book of Chumash, the book of Bamidbar. Bamidbar means in the desert, because for the whole book of Bamidbar, the Jewish people are traveling in the desert on our way from Egypt, where we left at the end of the book of Shemot, all the way to get to our home of Israel. The name of this week's Parsha is Shlach, which means send. And it's called that because at the start of the Parsha, Hashem says to Moshe, hey Moshe, Shlach, send some spies to check out the land of Israel so they can come back and tell everyone what Israel's like. So Moshe gathers his spies, which are one person from each Shevet, including Moshe's helper Yehoshua from Shevet Ephraim. And Moshe gives the spies instructions. He tells them to start in the south, because right now we're in the desert south of Israel, so that's the closest place to get to. They're going to start in the south, and they're going to go up towards the mountains in the north of Israel. And here's what Moshe wants them to look at. He says, let's check out what the land's like in general. Look at the people. Are they strong or are they weak? Are there lots of people or just a few? Is the land good for growing things or not so good for growing things? Are the cities, do they have walls around them or are they open to just walk into? Is the land rich with lots of stuff already growing in it or poor with not a lot growing in it? Are there any trees? Plus, Moshe says, I want you to take some fruit to bring back to us as examples of the fruit growing in Israel. So the spies go up in the south, like Moshe says, and they go up to the city of Hebron, where they see three giants living in Hebron. And they keep going up to a valley beside a river, where they see lots of grapes growing. And they decide to pick some grapes to bring back, like Moshe said, to bring back some fruit. Now, normally, picture a cluster of grapes. You can hold a cluster of grapes probably in one hand, probably even just in a couple of fingers. But these grapes were so big that it took two people working together to carry one cluster of grapes. They tied the top of the grapes to a stick, and two people, one guy on each side holding an end of the stick, was the only way they were able to carry these extremely heavy grapes. They also took some pomegranates and some figs, and they named that place Nachal Eshkol. Eshkol means cluster of grapes. They named it after that giant cluster of grapes that they cut when they were there. And after 40 days checking out Israel, the spies come back to the rest of the Jewish people and they say, so we checked out the land of Israel that Hashem is taking us to. And, there's good news and bad news. The good news is, oh boy, that land is beautiful. Oh my gosh, Israel is just stunning. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, lots of food growing, lots of possibility for more food growing. Check out these giant grapes we brought. They show them the grapes and the figs and the pomegranates. The bad news is, the spies say, there is absolutely no way we will be able to go in there and move in and live in Israel, because the people there are just too strong for us. Their cities have giant tall walls we'll never be able to get through. We saw giants there. Oh my God, it was so scary. There's no way we can go in. And one of the spies, Kalev, the spy from Shevet Yehuda, he's the only one who says something different. He's like, no, guys, we can do it. We can totally go up into Israel. It's because you know who's helping us? Hashem is helping us. And the other spies are like, nope. The people there are too strong. It is impossible. That land will swallow us up. We felt like grasshoppers to ourselves looking at those giants there. Just imagine how small we look to them. And all the Jewish people start crying all night long. They're crying. They're saying, we're not going to Israel. It's too scary. We're scared of the giants. We should never have left Egypt. And then they say, let's go back to Egypt. Great idea. It's the best thing we could do. We just have to go back to Egypt. It's the only option. And Moshe's like, oh my God, that's a terrible idea. And Kalev and Yehoshua say, guys, Israel is so amazing. It's the best place ever. And guess what? Hashem is helping us. Hashem specifically promised to bring us into Israel. Hashem can do literally anything. So it's not going to be too hard for us. There's no reason for us to be scared because we have Hashem on our side. We're going to eat those giants for breakfast. It's going to be so easy and so great. And all the other people are like, you know what we should do? We should throw rocks at Kalev and Yehoshua. And they start doing that. And Hashem doesn't like that. And Hashem's like, Moshe, oh my God, these people never listen. I'm so sick of these people never listening. I said I'd bring them to Israel. Now they're screaming and crying. They want to go back to Egypt. I have an idea. Hashem says, I'm just going to destroy all of them. and then I'll make you, Moshe, into a great, better nation. And Moshe's like, no, God, that's a bad idea. Because you know what's going to happen if you destroy all the Jewish people? You know what Egypt's going to say? They're going to be like, oh, Hashem can't do anything right. Hashem pretended to be so powerful, taking the Jews out of Egypt. But then Hashem realized it was just too hard to lead the people into Israel. So Hashem had to kill them all in the desert in order to cover up an embarrassing mistake because Hashem can't do anything right. Do you want people saying that, Hashem? Because like Moshe says, like, I know Hashem can do anything, and you know Hashem can do anything, but they're going to be saying that you can't do anything at all. Better idea, Moshe says, if you forgive the Jewish people, that will show that you're super powerful, because even though they're being obnoxious, you're still able to forgive them because you're the best. And Hashem's like, okay, fine, I will not destroy them. But these whiny complainers are not going to see the amazing land of Israel that I'm giving them. Instead, Hashem says, the Jewish people are going to wander in the desert for 40 years, 1 year for every day that those spies wasted in Israel before coming back and saying they can't go in. And anyone who's over 20 right now, Hashem says, they're going to live out the rest of their lives in the desert. We're wandering the desert for the next 40 years. They're not going to get to go to Israel. With the exception of Yoshua and Caleb, because they were the only people older than 20 who were like, yeah, actually, we can do it. Hashem will help. So they'll get to go see Israel. Everyone else, only the people who are under 20 right now, or younger than 20 right now, will get to go into Israel, and only after 40 years. So Moshe tells the Jewish people this, and they're very sad. And they're like, we're sorry, Hashem. We're sorry for being so annoying and complaining. We're sorry for saying we can't go into Israel. We want to go back to Egypt. Okay, we said we're sorry. Now we can go into Israel, right? And Moshe's like, no, wrong. It doesn't work like that. Like saying sorry, it's important, but it doesn't just fix everything. You've got a consequence now. They're like, no, we said we're sorry. Israel's right over that mountain. Right now, we're just going to go with Israel right now. And Moshe's like, no, God says you have to wait 40 years. The people of Amalek are right over that mountain. If you try to go into Israel now, they're going to fight you, and Hashem's not going to help you because Hashem says wait 40 years. And the people are like, no, we said we're sorry, we're going in. And Moshe's like, well, good luck. I'm not helping you. And the Aaron Kodesh isn't going with you. So the rest of the Jewish people go over the mountain to try to go into Israel. And sure enough, the people of Amalek chase them back really far back into the desert. They lose the fight. And Moshe's like, yeah, like I said, you can't just say you're sorry and everything's magically done. There are still consequences for your choices. So the Parsha continues with a reminder about some of the korbanot. It tells us specific wines or oils that go in the different amounts that go with different gifts of food that we give to Hashem. It also tells us that when we bake bread, we have to separate a portion of the dough to give to the Mishkan, which is something we still do sort of today. We usually separate it. We can't give it to the Mishkan, so we separate a small amount of dough and burn it when we bake large amounts of bread. And the Parsha also tells us about wearing tzitzit, which are like little stringy fringes on the corners of certain clothing that have 4 corners. And the purpose of tzitzit is to remind us to think about the mitzvot. And that is the end of Parshat Shlach. Shabbat Shalom.